We have a rarity indeed this weekend. It's a 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff as West Ham United travel to Brentford in the Premier League, which sees two very, very closely matched teams in terms of points. As I understand it, I think Brentford have got 13 points from 10 games. West Ham have 14 points from 10 games. So the battle of mid-table is firmly on. I'm joined by my old man, Gonzo Snr, and we're going to take you through our path through the perils of the upcoming fixture. Firstly, mate, thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts on Brentford this season, or generally as a club, actually, since it's been promoted?
Well, generally as a club, incredibly well run. I think their manager's very, very sharp. I think most people thought once Toney had got his ban that, they'd really struggle without all his goals. But Mubama, Wissa have really stepped up to the mark. And I think they're doing incredibly well, especially seeing as I think their second best player is out with a long-term injury, because why Rico Henry hasn't been in an England squad is absolutely beyond me. I think he's a sensational player.
I just wondered if you were going to have an Anthony Niemi moment then and sort of inquire why Anthony Niemi had not been selected for Scotland. And he was told at least he's finished. He's not finished. He's only 27. It's not even a gag. That actually happened. Who'd have thought about that? I think it's Mbeumo. I think is the striker you're referring to. Brentford had a crazy game, it has to be said, against Chelsea. I think it was a bit of a smash and grab raid where Chelsea were just attacking. It was not dissimilar to our match against Chelsea, actually. But you had, certainly a really good goal. I think it was Mbeumo possibly crossed the ball over. Pinnock headed it in, and then you had a bizarre counter-attacking goal where the Chelsea goalkeeper, they were attacking Chelsea to try and get back in the game. It was a counter-attack. But he almost mucks it up. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see the fella almost mucks it up? He's a former Brighton striker. His name escapes me. He always scores against us. Annoying guy. What's his name again?
I can't think of it.
Oh, people are screaming it. People are screaming it at the screen. You know the guy I mean. I think in the end they did manage to score. But you mate, just pass it into the back of the net. The goalkeeper's catching you. What do you make of the Ivan Toney situation, actually? Because not so much how they've coped from the ban, because they have coped relatively well. But I don't know if you know that just yesterday, Brentford slapped £100 million price tag on him.
Well, that seems to be the going rate for top players, doesn't it, at the moment? And, strikers always get a premium. And if you're a British striker, you get an additional premium. So good luck with them getting it. I noticed they also said that they're not going to sell him in January. So I think the only way you will get him in January is if you put 100 million down on the table. I think they're talking about they want the season out of him, and then they'll look at reinvesting the money next summer. My bet is that.
Well, you can't say that in regards to Ivan Toney. You can't say my bet. You can have a hunch. You can't have a bet.
I can. I don't play football. I think he probably will go in January because somebody will be desperate enough to pay that money for him. Chelsea haven't got a striker. They seem to keep spending money hand over fist, and it's clear the one thing they need is a goal scorer, and Toney absolutely is a goal scorer. But he's much more than that. He's good with his back to goal and in front, and of course his penalty taking is sensational. I think possibly the only better penalty taker I've seen is Mr. Letizia.
Oh, there we go. I don't know if do you remember that time we went and watched West Ham in the and we went to watch them. We were away to Southampton, but we went in the Southampton end. Do you remember? We were sat down there, sort of trying to be quiet. We're West Ham fans in the Southampton end, and Canute. Remember, Canute was playing.
Yeah.
And the guy rumbled me, didn't he? The Southampton fan rumbled me next to us, and he says, "All right, I won't say anything." Anyway, a little story for you there. Do you
remember what happened at the end of it?
Go on. What happened? Remind me.
Well, Defoe scored in about the 86th or 87th minute.
Yeah.
And you were there, and your sister Michelle was there. You were sitting either side of me, and I'd been saying to you all along, whatever you do, don't react if something good happens for West Ham. And I jumped up like an idiot when we scored.
Oh, you did.
And then I quickly sat down. But the really annoying thing was we got away with it. But in the main stand, there was a mother and father there with two young boys. I'd say one was about 8, the other one was about 6, and the boys jumped up and they escorted the 4 of them out.
Yeah.
It was absolutely the most disgusting. I mean, I've always thought Southampton was a well-run club, but, you know, if it was teenagers, but I mean, these were really, really young kids, you know, who you can't control. It was absolutely disgusting. Anyway, we get back to Brentford.
Yeah, back to Brentford.
Absolutely. And if they had, I'd have deserved it. What was worrying me was, of course, that my friend had given us the three tickets, and he would have got despite. He wouldn't have minded that much anyway because he was a Tottenham supporter, and I think
there you go. 3 West Ham fans using the Tottenham supporters' tickets who had a season ticket to Southampton. Work that one out if you can. That is definitely 3 degrees of separation. That okay. So Brentford, what do you think they can go on and achieve this season? It was Neil Mopai, by the way, is the player we can remember.
God.
What's a good season for Brentford?
A good season for Brentford, I think, is. I would have said at the start of the season, I would have said staying up. I thought they'd be in the mix, and they possibly could still be. You know, they only need an injury to Pinnock to Mpuena, or
I like it. I'm not even going to correct you. I like it.
Yeah, or Wissa, and I think the goals are dry up because I mean Mopai didn't take that shot, did he? Because he hasn't scored in about 43 Premier League games or something.
He'll score against us. Don't worry about his little shit.
Oh yeah, no, actually. Yeah, I know. And he's an irritating little dick as well.
Absolutely.
He's one of those ones who does all the niggly things on the blind side. Fortunately, VAR means that he can't get away with as much as he used to. But he was definitely one of those ones who was, dig you in the kidneys or stand on your toes and all that sort of thing all the time. And that's fine if you're playing for us, but if you're playing against us, of course, it's not.
Dennis Wise-itis is what he had. Brentford, I think, have done really well. I think they've managed to negotiate their way around their best player being suspended incredibly well. I'll just echo everything that you said. The manager has done great. It's such a tremendously well-run club. I think
what's that record against Brentford since they've come up?
Well, I don't know, not very good. But I don't want to start you on your rant about David Moyes and younger managers and all the rest of it. We heard enough of that on the Patreon podcast the other night. Thank you very much. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong, by the way. But yes, I think like Brentford as a model to follow for clubs that want to build slowly, build correctly, and then establish yourself as a proper Premier League team. Then Brentford are up there, as I say, with Brighton. And you know what? They have earned the right to demand that £100 million money because actually you look at what they've done and you look at the way that they've, obviously had Ollie Watkins, had him through. What a player he is. Moved him on, sold him on for good money, replaced him with Ivan Toney. The scouting system is clearly excellent. And if what they're going to do is bring someone else in, I've no doubt that whoever they bring in will be really, really good. Right, on to West Ham. Well, go on. You might as well say your piece now because you were annoyed with David Moyes that he didn't rest more players once we won the game against Arsenal.
Two things I was really annoyed about Moyes last night was the average age of our bench last night was over 30. Absolutely bloody ridiculous. That last night was the type of game where you've got to bring youngsters in onto the bench. Our youngest player on the bench last night was 27. And the only reason the bench average age wasn't higher was because he'd actually swapped Fabianski, our oldest player, was actually playing in the first team. Our first team, I think our average age was about 29 years and 10 months. where's the future of the club? We only had one player in our entire match team squad under the age of 26. There isn't a future in that.
No, okay. But moving on, for I just want to get to more the Brentford game, and in really delving into how you think that him not resting players like Bowen. I don't mean for the game. You thought when we were 3-0 up, he could have given them 10, 15 minutes rest or whatever ahead of this Brentford game.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have got Bowen desperately needs some time off. Thought he played really well last night. I thought Kudus played really well last night. I think they both should have been hoiked after we'd gone 3-0 up. I'd like to see the experiment continue with Antonio on the bench. I think Antonio, now that he's getting on a bit, I think he will actually be far more effective coming on late in a game against tired defenders. And I'd like to see him play more on the wing rather than at centre forward anyway. Kudus seemed to do quite well, and we've got quite a flexible team in that, Kudus, Benrahma and Bowen can all swap in and out. It's a shame Paqueta wasn't playing, because then we could become a really mobile front line where players can intersperse. But, how frustrating was it again yesterday with Benrahma out on the left wing? Put him on the bloody right wing for a change, especially when Bowen's up front. It made no sense. But yeah, I'd like to see Antonio rested again. You'd
like to see him rested for the we'll get to the team in a minute, but you're saying you'd like to see him rested for the Brentford game?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I've already uploaded the video today saying that I think this is probably the the future of things to come, certainly. But just for those of you that don't know, Lucas Paqueta and Edson Alvarez are both suspended for this game against Brentford following an accumulation of bookings, general naughtiness from Alvarez, and a big old tantrum. A big old tantrum from Lucas Paqueta against Everton means that he misses this one. It is going to be a miss because I certainly felt with that game against Arsenal, whilst I am a big advocate for for 10 minutes every game, swap your wingers over. I absolutely am, and David Moyes never does it. He's not the only one, but I did think that the Benrahma system worked in the Arsenal game because Benrahma just worked so hard. He did a Pablo Fornals basically. He just was a hard worker and allowed Paqueta to go central, and I think that caused all sorts of havoc in terms of him linking up with Bowen and with Kudus. We're not going to see that against Brentford, so it'll be really interesting to see what David Moyes does. With that in mind, what do you think? Well, actually, what backline would you like to see?
Well, Emerson obviously comes back in. That's an absolute given. I thought Soufal played quite well. I'd be very tempted to put Mavropanos in against with Agerd, because the one thing about the Brentford forwards they are very, very quick. So I think Zuma has been exposed lately by his lack of pace, and I'd give him a rest, and then we could use him for Olympiacos next week.
So no Alvarez, no Paqueta, as we've mentioned. Edson Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse in your midfield. Thomas Souček and James Ward-Prowse in your midfield.
I've got no choice, have we?
We don't. We really, really don't. Who would play as an attacking if you're playing with that system? Who would play as an attacking midfielder for you?
Kudus, probably. Yeah, I think
okay.
Kudus, and personally, I'd play Benrahma on the right. I'd play Bowen up front, and I'm not sure who I'd bring in on the left. Probably Fornals.
Would you really? You'd play Fornals on that? Okay, interesting team. I mean, he's going to have to make some tough decisions here in this one. I'm presuming Areola in goal, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Fabianski played well yesterday, but Areola's done nothing wrong. So
no, there was a point I noticed in the Arsenal game, when you saw. So he didn't have a lot to do. The defence played really, really well. Fabianski had very, very little to do. But there was a point where the option to distribute it and do it quickly, counter-attack, and he went to do it. And he pretended for it. And he went no, and he holds his hand up. No, we'll leave that. and I can't say this for certain, but I thought that's exactly why you ain't in the team, mate. It's not the saving, it's that. And I might be wrong, but it was really, if I was going to be accurate, that's why I don't have you in the team. That you just don't do it. And it wasn't. I think the guy was on the right. It might have been Super. It might have been Kudus. It was on. He just had to roll the ball out. He wasn't even marked.
No,
he's still. I'm not going to do it. So yeah, absolutely. Areola for me. Soufal, magnificent, athletic, steely performance. The sort of performance from Soufal, not the most technical performance in the world, but I've got to say the sort of performance that I thought screamed. He looked more captain material than Kurt Zouma. I've got to say, some real grit and determination, leadership. It was loud, and I was very impressed with Soufal, actually. Look, Kurt Zouma missed the game against Arsenal. He wasn't available, as I understand it. He will be available for the Brentford game. We're just in a situation whereby it's very, very difficult for him to play 2 games a week. What I would say in terms of, I'm very excited by what I've seen from Mavropanos, and I was even more excited by the partnership that I saw between the two of them. The very strong, powerful player, Mavropanos. The only thing I would say is that goal that Chelsea conceded, the second goal in the game against Brentford, that goal does not get conceded against West Ham. We don't do that sort of stuff. And I think you can protect Zouma. I'm not sure how high we'll be pushing up the pitch. So I probably would on this occasion go Soufal, Zouma, Gerd and Emerson. But I think another performance like that from Mavropanos and another bad performance from Zouma. And I think we're asking some questions there. Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. In terms of central midfield, there's no other choice between Souček and Ward-Prowse. And whilst I don't think Souček did anything to really catch the eye against Arsenal, I thought he was dominant in both boxes. I thought he was a pain in the bum in both boxes, actually. And I think just for this game, I think you'll take that. We'll have to take that. Ward-Prowse should hopefully be a little bit refreshed. It is a bit of a shame, but there's just, you cannot throw Connor Coventry in there.
Well, the thing is, I actually think you could.
Well, you didn't.
I mean, I know I didn't. But I'm saying he is an option. He has played big games, but they've been for Ireland. He's a full international for Ireland, and he gets picked for virtually every game for Ireland.
Yeah, so, he's not played enough football though to put him in, and that, listen, that is on David Moyes. He would look.
Why the hell wasn't he on the bench last night?
I don't know. I don't know. There were a lot of people that went on the bench last night. So anyway, I would probably. I'm very, very pleased with what I've seen actually with. So I'm talking about with Mohamed Kudus, and I'm a little bit unsure. I would definitely play, if everyone was fit, I'd be playing Bowen and Kudus in that same positions that he played against Arsenal. But I just don't think that we can do it in this game because we lost Paqueta, and that really is the key. So I think what I'd probably do in this game is I'd try and keep it as close as I can to that. I'd play Kudus as the attacking midfielder, much like yourself. I'd have to play Bowen on the right. I'd have to play Antonio up front because we've got a lack of options up there, which leaves the left-hand side. Now, the left-hand side, I really quite liked what Benrahma did in terms of his work rate. However, we're not going to have the same that he's there almost. He works hard to allow Paqueta to play in the middle and do that sort of role that he had. But Paqueta not there, I want a bit more creativity from the left-hand side. He just keeps on getting caught by his man. And he's just not fast enough and he's not strong enough to beat his marker. And he's going to have to beat his marker. He's too hesitant to put a cross in. And if Antonio's in there, I want crosses going in. So actually for this one, I'll play Maxwell Cornet on left wing. If he doesn't start playing now, he's certainly not going to play for the African Cup of Nations because he's not going to be here. I think he's Ivorian, isn't he? I think they possibly are the hosts of this year's competition. So he's clearly going to be heavily involved in that. And if he doesn't start playing him now, either one or two things happens. Either Cornet leaves in the summer or Moyes leaves in the summer, but I just cannot see a situation where he plays any more games. I'd give him a chance. If he's not going to get in now when two of our guaranteed first team starters are out, then when is he? So a little bit of a shuffling of the deck there. I still think there's a certain level of quality. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of interference here. A certain level of quality in the midfield still with Ward-Prowse there and Kudus in there. And I think, ultimately it might be an okay team. What are your expectations from this game? Do you think you're confident at all?
No. Brentford have had a week off. And, I think Thomas Frank basically will outsmart David Moyes. He will know exactly what David Moyes is going to do. And he'll come up with something and Moyes will dither. We might even go ahead, but it's a really depressing prospect, I think, because I do think he will outsmart us.
Well, I'll tell you what, actually go give us your score prediction now, and then I'll do mine.
1-1.
1-1. Well, funny enough, that was going to be exactly my score prediction as well. And I'll tell you what, I would not be unhappy with it at all. I would not be unhappy with a draw.
Well, I will be unhappy because at home against the team that's not at the top.
We're not at home, we're away.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I know we're up. So, yeah, I knew that. But against those kind of teams, we should be looking to keep clean sheets. And how many clean sheets have we kept in the league so far this year?
No, listen, our defence has been awful. I think, to be fair to Moyes, he will be looking to keep a clean sheet. There's a difference between between wanting to do something and being able to do it, though. Look, I honestly, I think, bearing in mind, we're losing two of our starting players. I think, and it is David Moyes' fault that we don't have another central midfielder to bring in. It's his fault that Flynn Downs is on loan at Southampton. It's his fault that he's not used Connor Coventry. It's his fault that maybe Freddie Potts was not more involved. He's doing very, very well at Wickham, as I understand it. But once you've accepted that those things are the case and that's his fault, we still have a lack of players for this game. And I think with that, I'd be pleased if we came away with a draw. And I think we possibly will. And it'd be very, very interesting to see what happens. I'm very excited to see a little bit more of Kudus. I totally agree with what you're saying with Bowen. I think he's played a lot of games. I just don't think Kudus has. And for that reason, I think I'm hoping we'll see another sharp performance. He's been very rested at the start of the season, so I'm hoping for another sharp performance from him. Needs to be a good defensive performance. Before we go, any final words on the game, my friend?
Well, only that, I hope we see the Kudus that we saw in the last game because, he was fully committed, for the whole game. His tackling back and covering, was sensational. And his touch for the goal was just sublime. It was almost as good as the one from Bowen earlier in the season. And what a good pass from McGurd.
Was great. Was great. There was a discussion for another time. I think Agurd, this is why I say the partnership. I think Agurd enjoyed playing next to Mavropanos. I do. Yeah. I think because they're both pacey, I think they were able to cover for each other. But I was very impressed. Just to finish up, I was very impressed with both Kudus's strength, strong as an ox, and Mavropanos is. If I tell you what, Kudus strong as ox, Mavropanos strong as two oxes.
Yeah.
Oxos, whatever.
And what about the dribble, the length of the field as well? Where
do you know what? I only wished when I was watching that. Fair play to him. I thought that he was almost did it apologetically.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that, mate. I'm thinking. Listen, the manager might have thought differently to me. Have a go. I don't know if you've seen any of his archive footage of his shooting. Do you know what, mate? It's almost like it was incremental. He did a little bit of it, then looked for someone, nothing was on. Did a little bit more, looked for something, no one was on. It almost happened in 3 stages. I'm just looking for it. Oh, don't worry about it, mate. Go for it and larrup that ball from 30 yards, and let's all see what happens. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think if he'd been a little bit further to the left, I think he probably would have done. But they did sort of force him down the channel a bit, and that's probably the reason why he didn't. But I thought there was a lot of promising elements to his play. He was caught out a little bit at the end for the goal. So, yeah. But who cares? It was the 95th or 96th minute of a 97-minute game. So and it was a cup game. So goal difference doesn't mean anything in a cup game.
No,
you're 3-0.
And I think had that have been sort of on the 70th minute, just to pick a random point in the game, I think he has more urgency. I think he's stretching more. I think he was almost so bothered. it's funny. I understand why people are keeping their hands behind their back. I understand it. But, you know, I think sometimes it's the tail wagging the dog. Yeah. If that's going to make you so hesitant that you don't make the challenge, make the challenge. You know, if that's going to stop you being as athletic as you might be with your arms out, I think you've got to go for it. But no, listen, no criticism. I was very, very pleased with what I saw. Well, there you go. Thank you for joining us for this preview. That's a couple of 1-1s. So we're not hoping for a draw. We think it might be a draw. Don't forget in the comments below to please leave your predictions. We'll be reading them with some interest. Please do, if you've not clicked a like on the video, if you can do that. If you're unsubscribed to Hammers Chat, please also click that subscribe button and the bell. Also, if you like the video and you want to see a little bit more Hammers Chat stuff, you can check out our Patreon, which is excellent value at the moment. Link is in the description below, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. We are running a free 7-day trial at the moment, so go and check that out. Aside from that, we will look forward to seeing you at, well, it's an hour and 5 minutes before kickoff, so we'll see you at 1:55 on Saturday, because we have that most rare of things, which is a 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff.